Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Hello, everybody. Another Spiritual Rockstar Podcast show. And I have an amazing friend of mine here today, Kelle Sparta, and she is amazing. Man, I remember so many years ago, we'll talk about it, I'm sure, at some point here, but I remember so many years ago us connecting and just feeling that connection with her. And she's a shaman person and everything. And she's just she's got so many things dialed in. She's got so much wisdom, knowledge, information, And so I can't wait to dive into this shadow stuff with her and see what her take is on it and what she has to share. I know it's going to be deep. I know it's going to be profound to you because she always has something that you haven't considered, you haven't thought of before. And so it's going to be a new angle, like, oh, this shadow work. No. We're going to take a look. We're going to see, are you ready for the shadow work? Do you really even know what the heck shadow work is? We're going to find out in just a second. So hello, Kelle.
Hey, Daniel. It's great to be on the show. I am so thrilled to be able to connect with you again. It's been so long.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I miss you too. We're talking before the show. We're like, all right, we got a show to do, though. We got to stay focused. Hey, we just want to talk, right? So we'll get caught up real soon here. But yeah, let me tell everybody about you. Kelle Sparta, the Spirit Doctor, is a transformational shaman working with high-performance people to unlock hidden aspects of their potential. She teaches motivated people to master their energy to create next-level results. Kelle works with her clients to uncover and remove hidden blocks, resistances, and beliefs that keep them from their happiness and success. Kelle uses her skills as a transformational shaman, coach, energy healer, psychic, medium, channel, and empath to accelerate her clients' progress. She is a founder of the Sacred Power and Purpose Mystery School, a school that teaches self-transformation, magic, and how to become a transformational shaman. She's been featured all over the place. She's got an amazing podcast, and maybe we'll touch on some of those things later. She's just been blowing up all over the place over the years here. So I'm so grateful for that. So Kelle, I'm grateful that you're bringing this shadow work you're doing out in the world. I don't think I've seen too many quizzes asking, like, are you ready for shadow work? That's a whole new angle. Let's just kind of dive into that first. Like, what is this business about? Are you ready? Oh, isn't everybody ready to deal with their stuff and their shadows? What the heck? First of all, what is a shadow from your perspective? Because I'm sure everybody has a little different kind of angle maybe on what a shadow is. So what's a shadow?
So shadow work is about digging out the ick from the corners of your psyche, right? It's the places where we don't like ourselves, where we've been traumatized, where we've been told that we're not enough or we're not worthy or all of the things, right? And no, the answer is unequivocally no. People are not usually ready to do their shadow work when they start to do it. And that is why it's so important for me to have this conversation with as many people as humanly possible, because what happens if you try to engage your shadow work when you're not ready is one of two things. If you have good self-preservation skills, nothing happens and it doesn't work. And then you build the belief that you can't be healed, that you can't feel better. And so that sucks. And then the other thing that happens if you have terrible self-preservation, which most of us do, then we re-traumatize ourselves. Yay. And that's even more damaging than believing that you can't be healed. And so I always get frustrated when I see all these people going, come do your shadow work, come do your shadow work. You need to do this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, did you prep them for it? Because I'm pretty sure you didn't. And if you didn't, you're going to do damage, right? You're destined to do damage.
Let's talk about that. Yeah, let's talk about, I'm going to jump in here. I didn't warn you about this, Kelly, but I like to mix it up a little bit. So let's see if this is true. So is it really possible? I mean, I could see somebody being in a fragile state, right? I mean, overall, and maybe you don't want to be unlocked. I think about like people let me just say, people I've known have significant mental health issues. Like, all right, it's time to do your shadow work. Oh my God, they'd be in the hospital for months on end afterwards, I'm sure. Like, so I could see that happening with like people are really in a, but like the average person, is it really that like, my God, we're going to go in the shadow, you can't handle it? And then like, I'm curious about that. Like, tell me your perspective. Have you seen like people that seem to be relatively decently functioning in life, like, you bring them into this deeper work like yourself, I'm sure. Yeah, I've done a little work with you. Like, maybe it's like the deep end that are like, holy cow, I don't even my life raft anymore. This is too much, too fast. Have you seen it? How has it negatively impacted people that either you maybe slipped into that early in your career, or you've seen it where other people went to some shadow camp or, whatever, and what you've seen with that? Let's talk about the horror stories, because let's make it real, because some people might be like me, like, I don't know, is that true? Let's take a closer look at least.
Yeah. And the answer to that question is, yeah, I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
I have a friend who every time she goes into any deep process ends up in a psych ward every
Wow.
time. And because, the foundation isn't built, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen people break in shadow work processes because they were unprepared, right? So,
Yeah.
I think the challenge that we have to address, right? Because and this is one of the things that we talk to people about too. And I normally don't like to do the doom and gloom, holy crap, hold your butt because you're going to be in trouble, because people are scared enough about this process, right?
Right.
So I want to start with, if you do the work in the proper order and you prepare yourself appropriately, then none of these things should happen. Okay.
Right.
So I want to start with that. But the challenge is that there are so many people out there right now, and it's so much worse now than it was 20 years ago, where these people who have taken a weekend workshop and now declare themselves to be a shaman are leading people into, deep shamanic work that they don't even fully understand themselves. And then they wonder why people explode, right? Or even worse, you go to a native shaman from a tribal culture where they grew up doing inner work, where they know how to navigate the other realms because they've been doing it since they were children. And then people go in and they get lost, and the shaman has no idea how to get them back out, because in their culture that would never happen, because everybody knows how to do it. Kathy watched that happen in one of her events that she went to, where the shaman led everybody in this huge conference in to meet and face their deepest fear in a random business conference. And then this woman could not get out and was being eaten alive by her fear. And the shaman just walked away because they had no idea how to deal with it. And so Kathy and another guy had to go in and get her. So this is what I'm saying. Kathy, by the way, guys, is a friend of mine that I work with. She's one of the coaches in my program. But this is the sort of thing that happens when you have people who either are not culturally prepared for the fact that we don't know our heads from the hole in the ground in this culture in regards to a lot of this journey work stuff. Or when you're dealing with somebody who is less than educated about what they're trying to facilitate and doesn't know how to manage it appropriately, right? And so, you can get that. I mean, most people who have a clue how to really do this work will look at somebody and say, I'm going to dial this back dramatically for you in the hopes that we can get you some small piece of work done, because, they didn't do the prep work to get you there. But that's only if they're skilled, right? It's only if they're skilled.
Right.
And so, as with any other process, you have to take responsibility for your own well-being, right? And so there are 2 steps that are absolutely necessary before you engage your shadow work. And if you don't do them, you will have problems when doing your shadow work. And so step number 1 is more important today than it was 20 years ago, because the whole world is like freaking out. it is about finding mental, emotional, and energetic safety. Because what happens is we've got fear and anxiety and worry and dread and self-doubt, and we're having arguments in our head with people we have never said that we were upset with out loud, that we're like, I'm reviewing, oh my God, I said this thing to this person, and now they must think I'm a horrible person, which, you know, they've totally forgotten you exist, but you're in your head, they're still like obsessing that you're a bad person, right? And you're just like, it's the monkey mind, right? If your monkey mind is going blah 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 at you all the time, you have no room to do any work.
Yeah.
You don't have the bandwidth. All your bandwidth is taken up with the monkey mind spin. And so the very first thing you have to address is safety, because the monkey mind is freaking out and your energy field is freaking out because you don't have safety, because you haven't had safety and you don't know how to find it for yourself. And so the very first step is learning how to make yourself safe in any environment. Okay. Because if you can't feel safe, there's no way you're going to do shadow work. Right. Because shadow work is, you know, facing down things that scare you in the first place. If you don't know that you can run to a safe space within yourself, if you need to, you won't do the scary thing. Or if you do, you're just going to explode, because it's going to be you traumatizing yourself because you've exceeded your ability to feel safe. Right.
So my question is like, yeah, I get what you're saying. Especially when you talk about someone at some business conference. All right, time to do your shadow work segment. There we go. Like, that's really crazy. And yeah, like I said before, like I could imagine like people I know, I'll just say that there's no way they could handle that shadow work. I know that. Like I know like their psyche couldn't handle it. I get that. So yeah, they have a hard enough time dealing with moment to moment reality, much less we're going to take you to this deep end. They said part of your psyche you don't want to deal with. Give you a break, right? I mean, it's crazy. So
yeah, but even if it's not somebody who's on the edge, okay. So I'll give you an example, right? I went to a, you know, one of those 2-hour get-togethers, body, mind, spirit sort of things, right? And the girl at the front was doing this presentation where she was literally reading from her notes to explain what the chakras were. Okay. So that tells you how experienced she was, because she had to read from her notes. And then she proceeded to take a meditation that she clearly got from somebody else and did not understand. And then did this guided meditation for this group of brand new people, where she took them out and told them to call back all the pieces of their soul that had ever been lost in the world back to themselves all at once. Now, any shaman worth their salt will tell you, you never pull back more than one soul fragment at a time, because the soul fragments come back with trauma. They were lost because they were traumatized, and the trauma broke off that piece of the soul, and that piece of the soul is holding that trauma. So if you pull back every piece of your soul, which seems innocuous when you're in a guided meditation and you don't know any better, you're like, oh yeah, I need to be whole, I'll take all that back. The implosion that will happen in these people's lives because of that is insane. Okay. It's just like, what was her name? Oh, Diane Stein, who wrote Essential Reiki. She used to take people from no Reiki attunement to Reiki master in a weekend. And she was known for people having complete life meltdowns shortly thereafter because of the healing crisis that came from the up leveling of the energy field. Right. And so, you know, this was well known that it would happen. Right. And so this is the type of thing that happens all the time. People don't even think about it, right? I happened to put up a shield in that room and say, nope, you can have one, right? I put up a shield. I was like, nope, everything else is staying away. You can have one, and the one that's not going to damage you, you know, because
Kelly the protector, she's like, I got everybody covered in here.
Well, you know, I happen to be there, but I'm not always going to be there. There's not always going to be an elder in the room who knows to say, when this stuff happens, right? And so that's what I'm talking about, right? It's seemingly innocuous stuff that just kicks your butt.
Well, I don't I'm not crazy about the guy, to be honest, but some things I do like. He says it's Sajid Guru or whatever guy. I remember him saying, yeah, we could get somebody to be so-called enlightened like really fast, but they might, if they try to, yeah, maybe in a cave somewhere, and maybe they can handle it there. But if they actually have to go back into their life, no way. They
Right.
cannot break through all that energy all at once intensively in like a weekend. We could probably do it if we just lock you away for a while afterwards. You don't have to go back in the world. But you try to do that, then go back out in the world right away, forget about it. It's just too much, too fast. And that's kind of what I'm hearing with this. It's like
Yeah.
with the work you do with shadow work, it's like I think there's all different levels of doing shadow work. I think, I
Absolutely.
could say I'm doing shadow work and it's like not this really deep shamanic work at the level that maybe you're doing, and it may not be a big deal. Even then, it's risky if it's the wrong person, for sure, if they're not ready. Even then, I'm saying like it might not be that big of a, whereas like maybe they wouldn't be ready for some deeper stuff, right? So I think there's levels of this shadow work too. And I would assume you would agree that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
But
absolutely. There are levels.
yeah.
And again, it just depends on where you are. If you've got a skilled facilitator, they will titrate it for the
Mhm.
person who's in the
Right.
room.
Right.
I mean, I've
Mhm.
I've done that. If I've been
Mhm.
in an event where I didn't get to
Mhm.
vet who's coming in the door, and I'm doing what is a medium level, because I've never do more than a medium level where I don't get to vet people, event, I will titrate it for the person who comes up and is like clearly not prepared for what I'm about to do.
Mhm.
I will bring the level of the energy down. I will bring the level of the work down. I will, titrate it for their ability to receive it.
Mhm.
But not everybody knows how to do this. Again,
Mhm.
there are people out there saying you're a shaman after a weekend, and
Right.
there's no way there
Right.
you could possibly know what you need to do in
Right.
order to be able to manage that properly. And
Yeah, I
so,
remember coming to one of your events and you were teaching energy tools or what have you. It's been years ago, but I just remember like there was a lot that you teach. There's a lot that and it's like a basic beginner class, and it's like, okay, here's ABCs and all this stuff, and like there's so much more. I know your programs are really in depth and super transformational and everything builds on, because again, I've heard you say it for years, like everything builds on, everybody's ready for that big transformation all at once. You gotta take it over a period of time, 12 months, 18 months sometimes. And I'm sure you don't, I don't know. Like I think you even get to where, I don't know if you do this currently, but like I just decided I'm not even working with people unless they're willing to commit to a year or a year and a half. I don't know. Maybe I'm making this up, but I almost thought like you said that one time because you knew like it takes, I mean, especially if you want to do the deeper work, I guess is maybe what you're saying at the time, but it takes a
yeah.
while.
Well, the first level program that I do with people, which is designed to do that mental, emotional, and energetic safety, that's only 4 months. So
Hmm.
it's a shorter
Hmm.
time commitment, but it will completely change the way you see yourself in your life. I mean,
Hmm.
completely. And then the next commitment after that is a year, and the one after that is also a year.
Hmm.
So, but we're doing 5 years worth of personal growth work and a couple of years worth of magical training in 4 months, and we're
Right.
doing 10 years worth and like 4 years worth of magical training in the each of the years.
Right.
So, we're doing a lot,
Yeah.
but before you panic and go, whoa, that's too much, you know, 9/10 of the time that you spend, if you're out there in the world just trying to figure this stuff out for yourself, 9/10 of the time is spent trying to figure out, what do I need, what's going to work, and how do I do it?
Yeah.
And I take all of those pieces out of the mix.
Hmm.
So doing it in 1/10 the time is not a problem, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But it's it's a process,
Hmm. Hmm.
and a lot of the process, what's very funny about shadow work is, or ironic I should say, is that so much of it is about our attachment to our current worldview and our current thought about who we are, our identity, right?
Hmm.
And when you are attached to those two things very strongly, it takes a lot of time for you to shift your belief structures
Hmm.
and to truly do your shadow work, to truly do the work of enlightenment. you have to let go of your belief in reality and your belief in your identity, because your identity, Kathy has such a great way of saying this. She says that we are all artisanal wells. So we're springs, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
the water just comes up. It doesn't have to be pumped. We've just got lots and lots of water just spewing forth. We are an unlimited font of energy. And then over the course of our lives, people throw garbage in our well. And we throw garbage in our well. And eventually the garbage is enough that it keeps the well from producing water. And then the rain comes and it rains down into the well. And we then begin to believe that the rainwater is our source and that that's all we have.
Mm-hmm.
And the act of doing shadow work is the act of admitting to yourself that you are not the rainwater, you are the well,
Mm-hmm.
and pulling the garbage out to prove it to yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the best metaphor I've ever heard for how this work works.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, there are stages to go through for this. You have to get prepared to do the shadow work if you want to be successful. You don't have to do anything. I mean, you're a sovereign being, do what you choose, you can skip the steps, but I will tell you that it will be a much slower path and you may never get there,
Mm-hmm.
because it is a pathway that is missing such big chunks of your foundation
Mm-hmm.
that when you go to make a step to the next step, you're going to fall through the foundation you didn't build.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens with more advanced people, is that they'll go, and because there's no curriculum, this is one of
Yeah.
my biggest pet peeves with the spiritual world, is that there's no freaking curriculum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's telling you, okay, this step, then this step, then this step. And that's what I'm trying to do with my work, right? Is be very clear. This is the curriculum. This is how it works. This is how everything integrates together. And this is why you do it in this order, right? I'm an engineer brain working in the spiritual space.
Yeah.
This is what I do.
Yeah.
So, but people further along in their process will get stuck
Mm-hmm.
because they missed a step for
Yeah.
further back, and they didn't even know they missed it. They weren't trying to skip a step,
Right.
they just didn't know it was there. And
Right.
so they get to this point where they're like, well, I'm stuck on here. And you're like, yeah, you're stuck here because you missed this step on this completely different topic
Mm-hmm.
15 years ago that
Mm-hmm.
you just didn't get.
So let's make that into a concrete example. So give us an example of like someone you saw that with. Well, they're really advanced in some ways, but they still didn't hit some of these basic steps years ago. So give me an example of like how that shows up.
So I had a friend of mine is a good example of this. She had done huge amounts of work. I mean, she'd done multiple different certifications. Then she'd worked with a working group of Wicca, a coven. She had done lots and lots of research on her own. I mean, you name it, she's done it all, right? And yet here she is, and she's sitting there, and she's stuck in a bad relationship, in a bad roommate situation too, on top of it, because she never learned boundaries. And so she's brilliant spiritually, but her life is still not working
Right.
because she missed the piece on boundaries, because the people that she chose to work with in those programs didn't let her have boundaries, because that was a hierarchical situation, and because clearly they never learned boundaries either. But that's the thing. And so when she got boundaries, her whole life shifted. Everything just
Mm-hmm.
went boom. And it just, I mean, she shifted. She found a relationship that worked. She's still in it 10 years later. Her life just took off, right?
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so this is the sort of thing that happens when you miss a step, because boundaries are a very basic step. That's actually part of the second step before you even start doing shadow work. The
Mm-hmm.
second stage is to solidify your sense of self. You need to know who you are before you can start digging out the stuff. When you
Right.
exist, and a lot of people, especially empaths, I know you have a lot of empaths who listen to
Mm-hmm.
your stuff.
Yes.
We empaths,
Mm-hmm.
we're chameleons. We're reflectors of everybody around us.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't really know where we stop and other people start, because we have very porous energy fields. And so we're not really clear who we are. We're kind of whoever the people around us want us to be, right? The problem with that is that you can't go in and dig out stuff if you're not sure if it's yours,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you don't know who you are. So if somebody is trying to push you past a point that is, going to traumatize you, you may not have good self-preservation skills because you're not really clear if it's okay to be who you are, because we're people pleasers. We want to make everybody else happy, right? Well, you want me to go here? Okay, I'll go here. Whoa, look, I exploded. Sorry about that. Right. I mean, that's the thing. So, you've got to learn how to claim your space in the world and say, this is my container and that's yours. And if I say no, that's okay. I get to set a boundary and say no. And then, I have to, set the boundary and own my power and be able to say, I'm a powerful human and I have a right to have that power. I don't have to give it over to anybody else to make them happy or to make them feel safe. Their safety is their responsibility, just like mine is mine, right?
Right.
Stop asking others to keep us safe, and we learn how to keep ourselves safe in that first process, right? And then we learn how to internalize our sense of value so that we don't feel bad and say, oh, I'm crap on the floor because you didn't like the fact that I set my boundary and therefore I have to.
It's your fault. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so, it's learning how to internalize your value so that when somebody looks at you and says, you're a terrible person for doing this, you go, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I have a right to set my boundary. And if it doesn't work for you, then maybe we don't need to be friends. Right. And then you have to learn how to love yourself, because you can't love anyone else fully at all, really, until you can love yourself. So you can manipulate them, you can manage them, you can care for them, but you cannot love them until you learn how to love yourself. And that means learning how to take care of yourself the same way that you would take care of anybody else. And all of those pieces is what solidifies your identity. It solidifies your sense of self. It solidifies your energetic container, which is what holds the shadow work, right? And when you have a solid container, then the energy work of the shadow work doesn't leak out, right? And now you can hold the deeper level work. Now you can go to the places because you have the courage to go there, because you know you're worth it. You love yourself enough to walk down these roads to heal yourself.
So so I'm hearing we've got, to start with, we got safety, establishing that, right? And then we've got boundaries. And then from there, like I was kind of hearing, like, what's that?
Owning your power.
Owning your power, right? Okay, owning your power. And then what was next? So we could lay it up.
Internalizing your sense of value.
Okay, internalize your sense of value. Okay,
and then learn to love yourself.
Learn to love yourself. Okay. Okay,
those
great.
are the 5 steps. We also do some work around de-armoring the heart and some energetic work. And, there's a bunch of other things in there. My programs have so much content.
Right. Yeah. It's that basic and simple, and yet there's a lot more to it. Right. I understand.
Yes. So, but, those pieces, I often tell people, I say, look, if you walked by a burning building and there was a child in the building, you would run into that building and go get that child out. All empaths are going to be like, yep, I'm in there. I'm getting that kid out. Like, your inner child is in the burning building of your trauma. Love yourself enough to go get them out. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's profound. Yeah. It's really profound work to do. So would you recommend, if the kid is in the burning building, then, so to speak, like, still stuck in that moment where, that other kid bonked you over the head and took your toy or something or whatever, and you're still like, oh! So yeah, you're still frozen in that moment, right? So is that the sort of work you want to do first, are you saying, before or no? Okay.
You do that when you start the shadow work.
Okay, you can get into that with the shadow work.
It's the equivalent of being a firefighter. You're going to learn how to put out fires. Then you're going to put on the right equipment to be able to go into the burning building safely and come out with the child safely. Because you going into the burning building and you guys burning up together isn't going to serve any purpose. Right. Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. I just want to flesh it out for me and the listeners here, how this kind of works. And so, yeah, this is really cool because, almost nobody talks about any of this stuff. Nobody talks about this stuff. I mean, so I know in myself, like, who knows? Yeah, maybe I skipped a step or something, but like, but here's the other thing I would say is, like, I'm sure, Kelly, we all manipulate people. I'm sure we all fuck up our boundaries. I want to say, I'm sure we all don't feel safe at times, no matter how much we've worked on ourselves. I'm sure. So how do you know, like, how do we know, Kelly, if we're ready for shadow work or if we missed a step, or how can you really know? Because everybody's gonna be like, yeah, I probably missed steps. I don't know if I'm safe. But then again, I could say that I know I could say that for you. I could say it for me. We could say it for so many people, or no matter how advanced you are, for the most part. So how do you tease that out? Like there's levels to that too, right?
There are.
Mm-hmm.
And everything we do is a spiral, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
always a
Mm-hmm.
spiral. So what you do in the outer levels of the spiral will be more shallow work than as you
Mm-hmm.
get into the deeper levels of the spiral.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, the goal is to make sure that you are that you have done the preparation for each
Mm-hmm.
level of the spiral that you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I actually, so when we decided we were going to do this podcast, I put together a quiz so that people could learn how to do this for themselves, so you figure it out for
Mm-hmm.
themselves. Because I realize that that's a question that people are going to ask, and that they're just like, I don't know. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's a short quiz. Obviously it's not an in-depth assessment, but it will give you a general idea of whether or not you are ready for this work and where you are in the process if you're not yet ready for shadow work. So am I here? Am I there? Am I there? What stage am I in, and what should I be looking at? And it will give you a complete report of everything you need to know about the stage that you're in and how to get from there to the next stage, what the elements are, what the stages are, that sort of thing. And if you stay on the mailing list afterwards, it's got a whole bunch of additional information that will teach you stuff about the level that you're in. So definitely do that. Because there's at least 5 or 6 emails for each result that are specific to that level. So, I assume we're gonna just put it in the show notes.
Yeah, it'll be in the show notes, and so people can take advantage of that. If they can't find it in the show notes, you know how it works out there in podcast land. They may not see show notes. How can they access it? What's another way maybe they can learn more about you and or access the quiz?
So I knew you were going to ask me that question. I'm like
Kind of a
scrolling
basic
quickly to
one,
find
right?
the link. So the what I'm going to say is we're going to get it up on the homepage of the website by the time
Yes.
this comes out. I literally just finished
Right,
this
exactly.
for
Yeah,
your
Kelly was just
podcast.
telling me, I just did all this work to get this thing
Yeah.
up and popping for this podcast and beyond, but it's
Yeah.
just something that she's been working on. But
It'll be on the
kudos on
homepage of
that.
my
Yeah.
website at kellesparta.com. Kelle Sparta, like the Greek city-state. I am Sparta.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be on the homepage of my website by the
Okay.
time this
By
airs.
the time it airs, right?
I
Yeah. Okay.
literally just
Good.
finished it
Good.
last night.
Good. Where are some
These people are
so
gonna
so
want this.
people can take advantage of that? That's amazing because it's something that will help them to answer all the questions that are rising in people's awareness right now. They're like, I'm sure some people are like, I'm really interested to learn more about that. Other people are like, I don't know. Like there's going to be different people. I would just recommend that people like that might feel like, man, this is all very interesting and valuable, but I don't know. I don't know about it with some of the stuff. Yeah, you probably should go check it out. Yeah, just go check it out anyway then. Yeah, definitely check it out then because you don't know. I mean, maybe it's just your shadow stuff messing with you. It's possible. I don't know. I'm not saying one way or another, but our ego or shadow or whatever, all these different things we're gonna call it, but like it messes with us all the time. So just check it out and you're going to get a bunch of information. You can accept it or not. Kelly's got a very strong energy. She's very good at what she does, everything she does. And you do need to be ready. It's somewhat, she's so gentle and so soft and she's so fierce. That's what I love about Kelly. So she's going to love you like from that eternal love. And same time, she can be strong. So she's got all that. So if you feel like and therefore she's a perfect container really to help you to do that shadow work because she can hold you in all these different spaces and ways and help you through this process. So after having done a little bit of work with her in the past, I can tell you she's really good at it. And you should definitely, hey, you can't lose it. It's a free quiz. We all love quizzes anyway. How cool is it to know if like you're ready to do shadow work? I want to see if I'm ready, right? So I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah. Well, and the one thing I would say is that there's one reaction that you didn't cover a minute ago, and thank you for that, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the people who are scared,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I get that a lot from people. They're like, oh, I don't think I can do it. And I've got to tell you that you are already the bravest person you know. You are already surviving all the trauma that you have lived through. You are already still making it in the world. You have so much more strength than you give yourself any credit for. And I know you're going, well, I can't do anymore. I know you think that's true. And that's why the first thing that we do is to take all the monkey mind stuff out. Because when you remove the monkey mind stuff, you have so much power to be able to work with.
Mm-hmm.
You have so much strength to be able to work with because you're not fighting yourself.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, you gotta stop being the enemy, so to speak, I guess, to put it another way,
Yep.
for fun, I
Stop
guess,
being
but
your
to
own worst
illustrate it,
enemy.
right? The enemy is me.
That's it.
And it's
That's
okay.
it
It's
right
it's,
now.
it's I don't know if it's you really, but you know, it's not the real you, but you know what I mean. Like that, disentangle from all that energy that is saying you're screwing it all up. You're to blame. No, everybody else is to blame. Oh, yeah. Who's to blame? As long as we figure that out, we're gonna get this all worked out. As we know who to blame.
Right.
Oh my gosh. So awesome. And then you have a podcast and everything. You want to share about that real quickly?
I
Any other
do.
places they can check you out?
Yeah. So I have a podcast called Spirit Sherpa,
Mm-hmm.
and it is your guide to energy, magic, in the spirit world. And so we cover everything from, magic and personal growth and mythology, and there's some sound healings in there. There's some ritual in there. I mean, we really run the gamut on the show. And so if you're brand new to energy work, I would highly recommend that you start at the very beginning of the podcast instead of dropping in at the point that we're at, because we're 4.5 years in. So we're at almost 300 episodes now. And so if you're going to come in, if you're a little more advanced, you can come in the middle, or if you're really advanced, you can come in now. But we have evolved the conversation as we have moved forward in the podcast, and as the audience has evolved, as they learn and grow with us. And so, if you're needing some foundational stuff, it's all at the very beginning. And we do reference back to old episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's better to start at the beginning, especially if you're going to binge, because most of my people binge. The average person.
They want to know everything, like kind of like you, Kelly, right? They all want to know it all.
Well, most of them, the average person is listening to 35 episodes.
That's
So
yeah.
that's a lot.
Well, you've got like hundreds of thousands of downloads. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, we've done 230,000 downloads to date, and we've been downloaded in 2/3 of the countries around the world.
That's great. That's great. I'm
really
so
honored that that's the case. And you're coming on the show.
Yes,
So,
yes. I think
yes.
I've been on once before, but it was early on. So I
Yes.
look forward to coming back. And
Yeah.
you've been on this show before. So hey, I like that idea. Like, go back to listen to Kelly's last episode with us. We talked about empathic stuff. I know, and how to manage that and everything. Man, so talk about backing up the truck. You can go back and listen to that episode. Just look it up. Kelle Sparta, Spiritual Rockstar, wherever you're, on Google or wherever you like to roam, Apple, whatever. I don't care, but just check it out and you'll love that too. Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free Meditate, Make Money meditation today. So, all right. Well, we're at a point where we do the tuning in part. It's always fun to do, and especially with you, Kelly, it'll be fun to do. So you ready for me to do a little tune in and just see what messages I might be getting today to share? Yeah. All right.
I'm already sweating from your energy.
All right. Okay. Fun. Okay. All right. Yeah.
But it was not this warm 2 minutes ago.
Okay. Oh, here it comes. All right. Awesome. That sounds so much fun. All right. So everybody, listen in. Now remember, whatever I share, Kelly, is exactly what you need to hear too, because it's all interconnected, right? So pay attention now. Okay. Don't go yet. No. All right. Here we go. Hold on. A little centering just for fun. Okay. Shh. So, yeah, one of the things I've been noticing, one of the things I was just focused on or a little bit or aware of is just how, yeah, because your energy is so become so disentangled from other people and other things, like, um, you have an unusual amount of like, yeah, like shielding around your energy. So I'm not saying you're trying to keep everything out, or I'm
I
not
do
saying
have
that, but
shields.
you
Let
know
me
what
let
I'm
me let
talking
you
about.
in.
Huh? What's that?
I
Yeah,
do
I
have
know. I
shields on.
literally, I can
Let me
feel
let you
that.
in.
I
Give
can
me a
feel
second.
that. I can feel that. Like, oh, I
I teach
feel
people how to do that.
right,
Give
right, right.
me a
So I
second. All
see,
right.
but I can see that too, though. So Kelly, it doesn't work. I can see it.
There you
Okay.
go. All
So,
right. I'll let you
no,
in.
but my point is, I did want to comment on that because I was noticing it earlier on the show. I was like, oh yeah, that's so cool. You've done that work, and so because you understand, you're wise in the regard, like you understand how easy it is to get hooked energetically. So that is why there is so much protection for you, and you create for others and everything. So it's out of loving care and concern, and a sense of wisdom too. I mean, anything could be taken to an extreme, of course, but I'm just saying, like, you're it's all a powerful gift that you have, an intention that you've set there to hold people in energetic integrity and protection. And because there are, I mean, God, there's everything grabbing at us, right? So I just wanted to notice that about you. So thank you for receiving that. And we'll see what else wants to come through. Hold on.
Okay. I made a hole so you can get in.
Okay. I don't want to. It's so funny. I'm like, Kelly, trust me, I could still get in, but okay, that's good. Thank you. But let it be easier, okay? And it'll be good for everybody. Okay. All right. Yeah, just okay. The next thing is just to share with just a reminder for you and then for everybody else to see, is like the descended angel that you are. That there's I really believe. I mean, I'm just, again, I just share what comes through. But I just get like it's just like, okay, we're okay. It sounds like you're an impatient angel. You're like, damn it, I'll go down there and do it myself.
It so sounds like me.
Right. So I truly believe that. Like, you were up there, like trying to help in the light and everything. You're like, oh shit, I'll just go down and do it myself. so, that's what I'm noticing. It's really funny because they're saying descended angel, and I'm just picking up on all that. So that's great. And then they're showing like balls of fire, and so it's just. I do think, like, you're so sensitive about potentially, like, do no harm. Like, you're so strong on that it could suppress, maybe unnecessarily at times, some more of the power of transmission that you maybe can bring, because it's like, oh my God, it's so powerful, and I get it. Like, you're right. I mean, maybe some people can handle it, but is there a way of letting more of that out, and where it could be handled, and so to speak, or whatever, like some more wants to come. So that was another thing I was noticing. And um yeah, so
What's fun about that comment
yes.
is that, so what you didn't say at the beginning of the show is how we met, and you were my coach in like 2009 or something, right? And I remember you saying, you've got to let people have an experience of you. You've got to do the magic, right? And I was like, I
Yes.
don't want to do the dog and pony show, right?
Right.
And I was like really resistant to doing the magic. I was like, no, I'm just going to talk to people. It'll be okay. I'm staying in the spiritual closet. It's all right, right? And this comment from you feels like the next level of that comment that you made all those years ago, right?
Right.
And so I will take that to heart, because you were right the first time too.
Right. I have a tendency to be right about these things. So.
Which is why when you said, hey, is it okay for me to do this? I'm like, all day long. Like, you were awesome with this.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for receiving, and I appreciate that. And it takes some courage for people to come on the show and be willing to have me download things for them. So I appreciate that for you and all my guests that are willing to do this. So, and if they don't, that's fine too. But so I just appreciate that.
I just
So
don't.
yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, no way. I'm going to say no to that.
Right. Right. To me, it's a no-brainer, but I get it if people don't want to do it. So anyway, yeah, if people want to check me out, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com. And oh shucks, golly geez, maybe I can do something to help you too. Maybe I can dial something into you to help your evolution and your purpose and doing your work here on the planet through some of the energy magic I bring in that regard, and just tuning in. I just tune in and like, okay, here's what wants to happen in your purpose and your business, and here's what I sense the next steps are. And we get into an energy alignment with it. So what the truth is, what really wants to unfold, and it starts to happen as you let it in. So you can check that out at yoursacredpurpose.com. Grab a session with me to get started. So it's a no-brainer. 197, come on. You're going to get so much. Look at how much comes through in just a few minutes here, right? So check it out. If you're ready to rock. I always say, if you're ready to rock, come on, you gotta be ready to rock, right?
Yes. I just want to say, because your work is amazing. I've known you for, what is that now? Like 13 years, right? And we come together and then we go our ways and then we come together. And so, we talk at least once or twice a year. And every time I am in any way in your presence when you are doing spiritual download work, you blow my doors off every time. And what you don't know is that what you just said to me is completely in alignment with everything I've been working on for the last week. And so it is, if you guys are really he's not kidding when he says be ready, because he's going to tell you stuff that your resistance is going to kick in, because I've been in resistance on some of this stuff for the last few days, and I've just been getting past it. And so to have you say this, I'm like, yep, okay, I'm hearing, I'm listening. The universe talks to you in like 40 different ways if you pay attention, right? And so but getting it direct from Dan is just amazing, because he is a pure open channel with no agenda. And there are some people who will deliver messages and they'll deliver them with an agenda. They've got or with their own twist on it, because they haven't done their work to get out of the way. And the thing that you are really good at is getting out of the way of the message. And so the message just comes purely through you without artifice, right? And it's undoctored. It's pure, straight from spirit discussion. And so, be ready for the conversation, but definitely have it, because it's so worth it.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Might clip that out as a testimony right there.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I like that. Thank you so much for that. And so check it out there at yoursacredpurpose.com. Get ready to rock. Okay. And then there is also a free meditation if you're like, well, maybe, but get the meditation first. It's gentle, it's easy to take in, and you start gaining some strength from that. And that's the slower path, but it's also a good foundational tool to have to meditate and make money. Okay, that's what we're talking here. All right, so all right, I just want to thank you again, Kelly, for everything. It's so awesome. I appreciate everything you had to share. And I find you're a stirrer, like yourself. Like I have to consider my own viewpoints sometimes with what you're saying. Like I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I agree with that. And then, but there's always a little but in there, right? I'm like, because I like to peel things apart, right? I'm like, yeah, wait a minute, what about this? What about that? So, so you really help people to expand and grow and to open the perspective if they're willing to be open to that. And I really appreciate that about you always, and then especially today during the interview. So thank you so much for that. Yeah.
Well, and I loved your questions. I love it. I love it when my students question me. I love it when you question me. Because it makes me think. It opens up new perspectives in my own belief structure. I am not the guru on high who knows it all and must, blah, blah, blah. No,
I've come from the mountain. Here's the tablets, right? Yeah. Right.
I'm doing my work too. And so, I could be wrong. It's possible. It's happened. Right?
It's actually happened. That's fun.
Some of my stuff from 10 years ago, I have a different thing that I'm saying today because I've evolved, right?
Sure.
It was so funny. I had a student years ago, and I know we're supposed to be wrapping up, but I have to tell this story.
Sure, go ahead. One more story. Well, this is your last word anyway. That's my last segment.
All right, that's my
last words.
So, I had a student who studied with me. He was an apprentice, and 20 years ago. And, he spent huge amounts of time with me. And so he really sort of integrated my voice into his head as we were, as we were in relationship. And then he went away. I went away. 10 years later, he comes back. He's like, oh, my God, I'm so grateful. I still know what you would say in every situation, blah, blah, blah. And he's like this thing that happened right now. And really, what would I say? And he said, oh, you'd say this. I was like, oh, it's like hearing myself from 10 years ago, right? And I'm like, oh, that's me of 10 years ago totally would have said that. But the me of today says this. And he was like,
right.
And I was just like, and I'm sure that I don't even remember what the conversation was, but if we did it again today, it'd be a totally different conversation.
Right.
Because, I keep doing my work. If that is not true, if you don't look back at yourself 10 years ago and go, oh, yeah, no, I would say something different today, then you haven't been doing your work for the last 10 years, right?
Right.
You haven't been evolving. And so you have to be doing that. And so that's why I love questions. I love
Right. Helps us to evolve. It's one of those master keys, those questions for sure.
Absolutely.
So. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, thanks again, Kelle. And thanks for everybody that's been tuning in. Like I always say, keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. So the next
Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.